Hey, happy Friday. Thanks for joining me today on what is inevitably probably a pretty great day for you because it's Friday and the weekend is upon us. And one of the things that I'm going to do this weekend is get caught up on my Christmas baking. A few installments ago on Fridays with Flora, I talked a little bit about getting ready for Christmas. And I know it's really hard to wrap your head around, but it's going to come up on us fast and furious. In between the gifts and the crafting and the decorating, there's also baking, not to mention all the other school stuff that your kids are going to need to get done. So it's a crazy time of year, and I like to get ahead of some of my baking in October and November, and I usually fit in at least 2 cookies in the freezer a weekend, so that by the time mid-December comes, I'm basically pulling everything out and I'm having a marathon day of baking. And if you saw my last installment, we did thumbprints, which basically you're just, popping them out of that Ziploc bag and they're ready to go, and you just pop them out on the baking sheet, fill them, and bake them. So today I'm going to show you how to make cookies. You can see here, I'm a pretty ambitious baker when it comes to Christmas. I'm going to show you how to use different dough, like different colors and different flavors within a cookie, like this peppermint twirl. And these are my mocha chocolate ribbons. And everybody calls them bacon, but there's no bacon in there. They just look like bacon. It's really just coffee and cocoa and vanilla. So how do you possibly make these? And then, because they're very labor intensive, they're beautiful, but the only way to do it is to pre-make them. And actually it's better when they're really cold and slightly frozen for slicing. So these are definitely ideal to pre-make ahead of time. So I'll show you how to do those today, so you can get ahead on some of your cookies and look like this amazing magician come December. So come join me in the kitchen. So this first cookie that we're going to work on is a typical butter cookie. So we need a stick and a half of butter, which is basically 3/4 of a cup. I'm going to give it a quick whip. To this, we're going to add a cup of sugar and get it nice and whipped. You just need a little leavening and salt. So that's 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And mix that in. Usually this goes in the dry ingredients, but in this recipe we're adding it to the butter, and we're about to add an egg. So 1 egg and vanilla. So we're getting our wet ingredients in here. This egg has been sitting at room temperature for a little bit, so it takes the chill out. Getting the chill out of the egg is nice because it doesn't kind of seize up the butter. You've softened the butter at room temperature. It's all nice, smooth, and silky, and all of a sudden you add a cold egg in there, and it causes some of the butter to kind of clump up again. So getting the chill out of your eggs for baking is a good idea. It just blends better. Need a little bit of vanilla, the typical 1 teaspoon. And that is 2 cups of flour. I'm going to put half in. I'm going to add a little bit more. You might need to add the rest of this by hand. Most of these, multicolored shape and slice cookies have a very stiff dough to them because you're creating these designs within the cookie and you're shaping them, and they need to hold their shape. and hold up to slicing as well. So we'll add this much in with the mixer and we'll see if we can get the rest of it with the mixer. We might have to grab the spatula. All right, I'm stopping short here because I don't want to overmix things. That's how you also get really stiff and chewy dough. Let's see if I can get the rest of this in here. All right, so here comes the fun part. You know, the beauty of these cookies, if you recall from my my cookie plate, is that they've got really nice, striking design to them, as well as you can add some really cool flavors. So this one is almost like a mocha latte, if you will. There's stripes of chocolate, there's stripes of this vanilla, and then there's stripes of Swiss mocha coffee. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to divide this up into 3 parts. I'm going to reuse my flour bowl. You gotta do this by eye. So that's part 1. And that's part 2. And here's number 3. Now I like to kind of smush them in a ball. And get a sense of, like, you know, true thirds. I don't know, I keep going back and forth with these two. All right. Anyway, all right, so this is good enough. Okay, so 1, we're gonna keep vanilla. Set that to the side. 1, we've got some Swiss Mocha Cafe from International Coffee. This is a Maxwell House brand. But this is like these flavored instant coffees that have been around forever. And you want to knead in 2 tablespoons. I'm going to start with the spatula and then probably get my hands in there. I spent some time kneading this in so it's nice and smooth. So now we've got our coffee mocha layer. And finally, this last third, I melted 1 ounce of unsweetened chocolate and I'm cooling it at the moment. So here's my 1 ounce of chocolate. I'm going to start with the spatula and I'm just going to start folding things around. And eventually. Okay, so now that I've got 3 separate doughs, I'm going to divide them up again. There's 2 there. There's 2 there. Two there. Now working on a silpat or a floured surface, we're going to shape these into squares. All right, so I think I want my bottom layer to be chocolate. What you're going to do is you're going to shape these into kind of a 6x8 rectangle. Definitely, we're even a little over, so. There we go. Layer 1 is done. Set this aside and you're going to work on the vanilla layer next. Now we're going to do something here. I'm going to set it on top of that, but with the plastic, because I'm going to chill these layers because they're going to be a lot easier to work with. So I'm going to put a little sprinkling of flour on the layer below, and I'm going to gently set this on top of the other one. So again, you're roughly 6x8 rectangle. And I like starting it with my fingers to get it in sort of the shape that I want. Again, I'm flouring the layer below. I'm setting this on top. Now I'm going to do that all over again with what's remaining. So, all right, I finished all the layers, and I've got a little mini baking sheet, and I'm going to scoot all these. Just like that. So there's six layers, all divided with flour and plastic wrap. I'm going to chill this for an hour. Why am I doing that? Because right now, to layer these onto one another, it's going to be a disaster. It's very soft. The kitchen's warm. If it's chilled, I can pull these off and layer them and wrap them up better. So in the fridge they go. All right, these have been chilled, so this is going to go quickly. You can tell they're a little stiff. So, and they're lifting up easily from each other. So I'm going to take the chocolate one. I'm going to put a vanilla in the middle. Look how easy that was. Chilling the dough makes it so much easier. Coffee. You gotta move quick, because the minute this stuff starts softening up, it's gonna get harder to work with. Gonna go with chocolate again. Vanilla. And finally, coffee. If anything cracks, just press it together. Now, real fast, I'm just going to take a rolling pin quickly and gently on top. All I'm doing is kind of gluing them together. Now, I'm just going to clean up my edges. Now, I just turned on my oven to 350 because even though this is for Christmas, I'm not getting these, I'll let these scraps go. I'm gonna smush them together and cook them up for Monkey Girl when she gets home from school. She'll have some fresh cookies. So finally, what I like to do with these, because you're gonna, on baking day, you're gonna slice this way. These are too long. So I cut this in half and I eyeball it. And there we are. Wrap each brick. Check it out, see? Wrap each brick in plastic wrap and then in tin foil. And then label it. And use some of your plastic wrap you've already used. Waste not, want not, right? There you go. We're gonna wrap this up, we're gonna label it, and on baking day, take one out, let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes at room temp, keep the other one in the fridge so it stays cold. The beauty of these, again, the colder the better. So even if they're slightly frozen in the middle, it's no problem. It's the colder it is, or even if it's slightly frozen, you'll be able to slice these up with a serrated knife to create these wonderful cookie strips. While we're in the mode of multicolored shape, slice, and bake cookies, I'm going to show you how to also do a twirl cookie. This is another butter-based dough, and I split it into 2 even parts. This is for my peppermint twirl cookies that I'll make sure the link is somewhere on this post on YouTube if YouTube lets me. I believe they are allowing that now, but the recipe's on the blog. But I'm going to show you how easy it is to kind of pre-make these, roll them up, and wrap them. And actually, I mean, these are the kind of cookies that are perfect when they're actually just out of the freezer, maybe defrosted for 10 minutes, because the colder they are, the easier it is to slice them and hold their shapes. So in one batch, I've got a half a cup of crushed candy canes. Nothing is more festive than candy canes. I need that in. If you find in your area that you can buy these crushed candy canes in a bag, it's like they're perfect size, go ahead and buy them because I'm sure you're going to use them during the holidays. All right, so that's pretty well incorporated. So I'm going to set that aside, and then this other one, we are going to add a teaspoon of peppermint extract. Smells really good. And depending on how much red you want, a bunch of red food coloring. Now we're going to mix that up too. For this, I like to use a fork first, just because of the red food coloring. And then grab it all and start kneading it. Now working on a floured surface or a silpat, I'm going to layer plastic wrap on here as well, like we did with the coffee strips. Now I like to do the solid on the bottom, so I'm going to take the red and I'm going to roughly shape it into a rectangle. Now we're going for like 12 by 6-ish, so 12 is pretty much there, and we're a little wide. So if you're a little wide, I think what I'm going to do is take this and actually add to the length, because adding to the length will get me more cookies, because you're going to slice this way. So if anything, go longer than 12 if you've got the dough for it. I'm going to sprinkle a little flour on here, and I'm just going to hit it with a rolling pin just to make it even, because it's a little bit thick in the middle and you don't want that. All right, it's feeling pretty good. Set this aside. You're going to work with the other dough, roughly the same size. All right, the tricky part now is we're going to move this over here. This is why you need your saran wrap. It's going to help you move the dough around. And I'm going to move the red over here. And if things crack, like over here, no big deal. Just press it back together. Okay. Ta-da! Do you see that? Gotta move fast. But I flipped it over. Little overage over here, so I'm gonna kind of patch. And you know what? It's okay if the top is messy, because you're gonna roll this. Now, if you want to be really a neat Nick, which, what the heck, it's a YouTube video, so if you want your clean seam, go ahead. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I mean, I don't know. Now, taking the one end, you're going to turn it. And you're going to use your saran wrap there you go. And then the other thing I'd like to do at this point, because it's awfully long, right, depending on your freezer space, I cut it. See? And then with one plastic wrap, I kind of tighten up the roll. So I'm just gently putting pressure on it as I roll it. that. I'm going to give one more wrap, and this time sealing the seams. And they're going to get wrapped, they're going to get labeled, and here's the beauty of it. The day of baking, I'm going to pull these out. I'm going to let them sit at room temp for maybe 10 minutes just to soften them a touch, but it's still going to be pretty cold. If you're working log to log on baking day, take one out, keep this one in the fridge. The colder these are, the better you can slice these with a serrated knife, pop them on a baking sheet, and bake them. These get baked at 350, I believe, for just 8 to 10 minutes. You can check the blog just to make sure I'm right. I'm going by memory, so just be sure. Check out the link. And I do have some other Christmas cookies definitely on the blog if you want to check them out. Pretty much most cookie recipe, most of them you can pre-make. So I'm going to label these peppermint twirl with the date, and in they go in the freezer. That's all for today. So get baking, guys. It's November 3rd. Christmas is a month and a half away, people. So get going. Bye.